But we're going to talk to Mo about his mock draft, which has been blowing up our site today. I dubbed it the hashtag Mo Mock.
Wow, I like that.
I'm proud of that one.
It's a good one.
Mo's now got to trademark it because I'm not going to trademark it for him, but he can trademark it. But the Mo Mock.
Yeah.
You say that fast 5 times. Mo Mock, Mo Mock. You say Mo's name fast 5 times. Same thing. The double M's there get you. So Eminem. We'll call him Eminem. So we go out on the phone line out to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Where you say there's a bias.
There is a bias.
And we bring in our good friend, our senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com. If you haven't been to the website, go see it. You can read Mo's story there. His first mock draft, our first mock draft of 2020, and we bring in Mo. How you doing tonight, Mo?
Doing pretty good. Just real quick, in the name of Marshawn Lynch, I just hope everyone is taking care of their mentals, taking care of their chickens.
Yeah, take care of y'all's chickens.
That's important.
It is important.
So make sure you take care of that.
Yep.
Amen. Amen. Now we're gonna release tomorrow, just like Marshawn. We're gonna release our hashtag Mo Mock T-shirts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll get it to you. All right, Mo. So here's the deal. It's so funny when you put mock drafts out there. Of course, you get the you're crazy, or you get the I agree with you 100%. There doesn't seem to be a lot in the middle. There's some really intelligent fans out there who kind of say, hey, well, I like what you did here, but I think this or I think that, and there's a good conversation. And then you get the people who are like, why are you doing mock drafts? Nobody cares. It's too early. Everybody's mind can change.
Yeah.
And to that I say, it's look, you're a Raider fan. The football season's over right now. What else are you going to do to talk football, right?
Talk football.
You don't care about the Super Bowl if you're a Raiders fan right now, so why not?
Yes, that's very true. So, Mo, let's go through this now and talk a little about it. So your story up on silverandblacktoday.com, you go through the entire draft as picks stand today. Of course, the Raiders could trade some away, get some more, who knows. But let's start with that first round. Okay, there's a huge population in Raider Nation that number 12, they want a quarterback. But you and I know that's not going to happen. But at number 12, you have a guy who I think some people would absolutely just, run through mud and snow and sleet and whatever else to get in a silver and black jersey. But a lot of people think he'll be gone. But the way things happen in the draft, you never know. You have, going at number 12 to the Raiders, CeeDee Lamb, of course, the talented wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Tell me a little bit about why at 12 that's the guy to get for the Raiders instead of maybe one of those talented linebackers.
Well, I'm on the record of saying if Isaiah Simmons is somehow miraculously available at 12, he's the guy, because the drop-off between the top linebacker and, Simmons and the rest of the linebacking corps is wider than the wide receiver. It's a deep wide receiver unit, so you can get one in the third round. But if Simmons, and I expect him to be off the board at 12, if he's off the board, CeeDee Lamb is the pick, because all year we've been saying the Raiders, after the Antonio Brown situation, the Raiders need a number one wide receiver. They need a lead wide receiver. They need a dynamic guy who can go out there and line up all over the field, catch some short passes, catch some deep passes, and kind of take some pressure off the car. And that's what you would get in CeeDee Lamb. He added some weight before the last season. As you can see, he's great after the catch. He's like a running back after the catch. It's hard to bring him down. I believe in one game against Texas, he broke maybe 5 or 6 tackles on one play, which was amazing. You got to see that highlight. But, again, Gruden would love him because he's a very smart, high IQ wide receiver. Again, you can line him up outside, you can line him up inside, and kind of exploit some mismatches. So he's not the fastest wide receiver, but he has great hands.
Hey, Mo, one thing about CeeDee Lamb I noticed, now there's no question his talent level is superior. One thing I noticed with CeeDee Lamb a lot, when another guy would score or, he didn't get the ball, he would kind of shrug, and he wasn't over there joining the celebration. I know the brain trust, Mike Mayock and John Gruden, they're kind of looking for maybe a team player. They're always looking for a high character. Obviously, his talent's going to, by far surpass any character issue that he has. But is that something you noticed with CeeDee Lamb, that maybe, he wasn't a team guy because he was more like a me kind of receiver, in my opinion?
I never got that vibe from him. But I could see why you would say that could be a problem, because you want a community guy. You want a guy who's going to celebrate everyone else on the team.
Right.
Maybe that's just a product of maturity, and maybe you can just kind of, pull him aside and say, hey, you're going to get the ball, because at the end of the day, wide receivers want the football. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Most wide receivers, if you're a competitive guy and you're out there in the field, you want to be the reason your team is winning. I wouldn't read too much into it unless there's something in an interview that pops up that makes you think maybe he's a little too immature for the game. But other than that, I can say that's something that's very correctable. and that could be addressed with, again, just maturity issues or just growing up in the game and understanding that you're not going to get the ball in every play, but you're going to get the football.
Right. Again, we're joined by Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com. He is also an NFL contributor with Bleacher Report. Now, Mo, the thing, before we move off of CeeDee Lamb, the thing I perhaps like most about him is he's a badass. When it comes to contested passes, this guy is in there. It's like he's ready to arm wrestle when the ball goes up and if he has to go get a contested pass. And to me, in the NFL, with that size and the extra weight he has on, to me, that's why I find him so appealing, right? He doesn't have that Al Davis blinding speed stuff, but what he does have in every other part of his game more than makes up for it.
I would say, and I say this before every NFL scouting combine, when you watch wide receivers, I know everyone loves to watch the 40-yard dash. That's the thing that everyone looks at. I would say watch the gauntlet drill where they have to catch in a straight line, turn, catch in a straight line. Watch that drill because it'll tell you if a wide receiver prefers to body catch, wait for the ball to come into his body, or attack the ball at a time point, stick his hands out and snatch the ball at the end. I think CeeDee Lamb is the latter wide receiver, and I think that's a great thing for a quarterback because you want a guy to come back to the ball, you want a guy to attack the football.
All right, we'll run through Mo's mock draft, the Mo Mock, hashtag MoMac, Mo Mock.
You can't even say it twice in a row.
You got to use it, hashtag Mo Mock. Use it on Twitter, everybody. Before we go to the first break here, and we're going to keep you for 2 segments, Mo. With the number 19 pick, you still don't go linebacker, right? You have a cornerback, which is another great need for the Raiders, and you have Trayvon Diggs, the kid out of Alabama. Tell us what it is about Diggs that has you wanting the Raiders or has you selecting the Raiders or having him select it in the first round.
Real quick, a couple of things. Number one, he fits the profile of what the Raiders want. Long, athletic press cornerback, 6'2", 207. So you're not going to have a problem with size or length. He can be able to close the cushion on a wide receiver if the wide receiver gets a step on a quicker guy. He's a converted wide receiver. He started off as a freshman wide receiver, transitioned to cornerback, so he has some route recognition there. He can kind of shadow wide receivers and kind of know where they're going to go before the ball arrives, and you want that in the cornerback because that usually leads to turnovers. He has great footwork, kind of like Trayvon Mullen. Pretty good, very fluid actually, and few false steps. And what that means is you don't have a guy who's out of position because he takes a step out of direction and the wide receiver gets a step on him and goes downfield for a big gain. So I think Trayvon Diggs, with his length, size, and footwork, perfect for a number one corner opposite Trayvon Mullen.
Well, and he has experience, as you said, lining in the perimeter and in the slot, so they have flexibility. They have Isaiah Johnson, Keyshawn Nixon, and Mullen, of course, as you mentioned. So that gives them a lot of flexibility, which is great on the defensive side of the ball. And so to me, he makes a lot of sense there. What about? I know he broke his foot. How about that injury? Did he bounce back from that? Was there any ill effects based on that injury?
I feel like if you watched his last season, I feel like he bounced back pretty well. He didn't show any ill effects as the season went on. He had a pretty good play that was on Joe Burrow that was called back where he read the zone, and you could see his ball skills there. So when it comes to range, I wouldn't worry about his foot. If he comes into the draft and he's fine, all his medicals check out, and he doesn't pull up with a hamstring or anything like that or any type of leg injury, I wouldn't worry too much about it. The one thing people are going to see that he's not the best tackler. I know Deion Sanders says, you don't pay me to tackle, pay me to cover. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. He's a little passive there. I wouldn't say he's a bad tackler, but you want him to be, if you want him to be a little more aggressive, you want a little more of an aggressive cornerback on the outside, that may be a problem for you. But I think his ball skills make up for that.
Yeah, and I think once he gets into camp and the Raiders get a hold of him, they can work with him and get that, I think, up to where he needs to be. All right, Mo, don't go anywhere. Again, we're talking to Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com, also from Bleacher Report, about his first mock draft today. When we come back, we'll get the rest of Mo's picks, and we'll roll on with the Silver and Black tonight here on the home of Raiders talk in Las Vegas, and that, of course, is CBS Sports Radio 1140.
When you need inside info on your Raiders, you'll find it here. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
And we're here. We're back. We're talking Raiders football. We're talking mock draft. Yes, it's that time of the year. It's towards the end of January. There is no Raiders football on television. There's no transactions happening. So guess what? We mock drafted, baby. And we turn to one of the best, of course, Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com, Bleacher Report as well. Chaz Osborne is here. I am Scott Branson. We are your tour guides, and we're going right back into the mock draft, the Moe Mock. And Mo, in the third round, now one of the things that people might look at and say, hey, here's what the Raiders need. They need linebackers, they need cornerbacks, they need wide receivers, and then you have that other group that would say they also need a quarterback. So those are the kind of four that everybody talks about. But one position where they need depth, because remember, in the NFL to win, you have to have depth, is running back. And in the third round, at pick number 80, you have the Raiders going with Zach Moss out of Utah, a kid I really like. If you're on the East Coast, even though, Mo, you watch West Coast football, not everybody does, but a kid out of Utah played really, really well today, and I think he's a kid who could really help them when it comes to depth and spelling Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm as you said, I'm out here on the East Coast. I'm up till like 2, 3 in the morning, so I can catch a couple of the Utah games out here. But I really like Zach Moss. I caught eye on him earlier in the year. There was a tweet out there that said he had 26 broken tackles in 2 games, and that was against BYU and Northern Illinois. Now, those two programs aren't slouch programs, so you got to look into that. End of the year, he forced 78 missed tackles, and that's 16 more than Eno Benjamin, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. So if you're looking for a guy who's kind of a pounder, he has a similar size to Jacobs, but his run style is very rugged. And again, he's just a broken tackle machine. And if you want a guy to compare with Jacobs and make defenders cry after football games, you pair Zach Moss with Josh Jacobs, because those two guys together would be tough to tackle. And I think that would be a linchpin for the Raiders offense on the run side.
By the way, I'm biased, forks up, but Eno Benjamin I think is going to be a great second-day pick for somebody, by the way. All right, so moving on, another position, and you have in the third round at pick number 91, a position, or excuse me, I skipped a pick, 81. You have a pick that I like too. They need help on the edge still, right? That defensive front got better last year. There's no question, especially towards the end of the year. Bradley Anae from Utah. This kid is, I think, he's got that kind of motor that you saw with Crosby, and a different kind of player. But tell me why Anae there at 81 would be a good selection for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are talking about an interior defender, and I get it. If like a Javon Kinlaw in the first round, so I think that's where he's going to go. But I think the Raiders need an edge guy. You can never have enough edge rushers on the defensive line. Arden Key, I know he started to flash a little bit before he broke his foot, but he just hasn't shown enough coming out of LSU. So, and you're not going to have Vincent Mayowa, assuming that he goes to free agency. He did play a lot of snaps this year, but he did have 7 sacks. And letting that go, you need to replenish that. So I think Bradley Anae would be a good pick there, because he comes in with a complete, I wouldn't say complete pass rushing toolbox, but he's more developed in the sense of technique more than Key when he came out of LSU. Out of LSU, Key was kind of raw. He was a stand-up pass rusher. Then Preston Buckner had to get to him and kind of teach him technique more than just speed rushing or power rushing. Anae has that, and he's fluid. Really quick, I saw one game when he was one step ahead of the offensive line and the defensive line before the snap. So he forced the offensive tackles to kind of jump off sides a lot, false start a lot in that game. So Anae is the guy you want there.
Yeah, and I like I said, his motor, his demeanor when you watch him on the field, he's got that Raider feel to him, and I think he would be a great pick there. Now, round 3, 10 picks later at 91, you finally you pick a linebacker. And a kid I also like, too. You talked about Arden Key out of LSU. How about Jacob Phillips out of LSU? Here's a guy, coming off a great year, of course, with the champions of the college football playoff system, of course, the Tigers, but also the Raiders. And the point you made with this pick, Mo, that I think is really important for people to understand. Linebacker is a huge need for the Raiders. But if they can establish part of it, especially in the middle, if they can get an established free agent to fill the middle, then a guy like Jacob Phillips makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And one thing you want to stay away from is reaching for position. I know the Raiders really needed a defensive end last year. They went up a guy, Furrow, last year at number 4, and some people think that's a reach. But more so at linebacker, you don't want to just add a linebacker in the first round. Unless Simmons is not there, you don't want to just add one because you need it. You want to make sure you get a guy with good value at your position. I think Jacob Phillips will be available in the third round, and he could, as you said, still fill a need, especially if you pay a middle linebacker for agency like a Schobert or Corey Littleton. I think Jacob Phillips can play the weak side position. He can play in space. A lot of people are going to talk about Patrick Queen, and he's going to have a bigger game coming into the draft. but I can argue Jacob Phillips can give you just as much as Patrick Queen could in space playing inside linebacker. Both played just about the same amount of games. Phillips had a few more PBUs than Queen. I believe Queen's probably going to go in the second round, but as you know, the Raiders don't have a second round pick. Jacobs has a lesser name, but I think he can be just as effective.
Yeah, and then you roll into round 4 at pick 111, which the Raiders have, and a guy I like too, who I think has turned some heads and then gets lost a lot as well, and that's Reggie Floyd at Virginia Tech, the safety. Now, talk about him. To me, I like this kid a lot, and why do you think he's fallen down there where he'll be available at round 4?
I think part of it is he's not in a big-name program, and Virginia Tech didn't necessarily play in big games, so people are not going to pay attention to a safety at a program that didn't have major success. But I think with Reggie Floyd, what you can have is three things wrapped up in one play. He could be your deep safety, he could be your box safety, he can also be a nickel linebacker. Yeah. He's about 6 feet, 222 pounds, and he has ball skills.
Yes.
So it's not like he's not like a thumper that just needs to be close to the line of scrimmage. He can do that. He can lay a hit. I know he had a couple of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties this year. He can clean that up, but he can also, stand back and read the quarterback and snatch some footballs out of the air and give you some turnovers, which is Raiders badly need. I believe Eric Harris has the most interceptions on that defense with 3. You can have another guy who would be kind of a ball hawk on the back end that could erase some drives.
Yeah, and you talk about his ability to tackle and his size, and for me, that's why I like him too, is you can put him in that nickel defense as a smaller linebacker who can also keep up in pursuit and in coverage, which is something the Raiders absolutely need, especially at a value there in that round would be a good pick. Now, on to round 7. Again, we're talking to Moe Moton, senior NFL columnist with silverandblacktoday.com and also contributor at Bleacher Report. In round 7, you have the Raiders with a second wide receiver, that being a kid who had a nice game, a nice season, Tyler Johnson, the Gopher out of Minnesota.
Yeah, and a lot of people were kind of raising their eyebrows at this pick because they're like, this guy shouldn't be available in round 7. So really quick, I'll just give context on that. Just keep in mind, he didn't get a Senior Bowl invite, which probably means that NFL teams weren't that interested in him. Mm-hmm. He pulled out of the Shrine game. That was his own decision to prepare for the scouting combine. Now, remember, when these incoming prospects come in, every time to show yourself is basically a job interview, and he didn't have one opportunity. He pulled himself out of another one, so that could lead to him falling a little bit. The other thing is he's not a 4.4 burner, so he's probably going to run a 4.5 at the combine when he does show up. And as I said early in the show, we like to pay attention to the 40s and not too much to the hands and the wide receiver responsibility for catching the football, which to me is insane. You look at the speed.
Yeah.
So Tyler Johnson doesn't have that speed, but again, he has, like CeeDee Lamb, he has great hands. He can make the acrobatic catches. He can make the difficult catches, the contested catches, and that's what you want to see out of a wide receiver. And I think that's great. If he's available in the later rounds, 5, 6, 5 or 7, even in the 4th round, I take him. This is a guy you want, because I don't want to hear any excuses about Derek Carr not having weapons. CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Johnson, 2 guys who don't have top end.
Darren Waller,
great catcher.
Foster Moreau. Yeah,
there you go. There you go. And Moss.
And Mo, I agree with you. I think obviously he's not in the same stratus as CeeDee Lamb, but they're very similar types of wide receivers. Back to what I love about Lamb, and that is the ability to fight for the ball and to really take on any battle that comes his way. And I like that in a wide receiver, especially with some size, because what they can do is with a quarterback like Derek Carr, who's not going to be the guy who's going all the way downfield all the time, is he's going to throw some balls. They might be contested, a lot of them. And so if you have a guy who can go get that ball, that's going to help you no matter who the quarterback is. But obviously with Derek Carr there, it helps him significantly. Now, of course, this is your first mock, Moe mock. Let me reverse that. And so things change over time. But when you look at how the draft, and of course we had big news today in Las Vegas around the draft, which we're going to get to in the next segment after the break. But Mo, with the draft and how things are stacking up, we're hearing all this smoke. To me, it's all just BS about the Bengals saying, well, we're not necessarily saying we're not willing to trade. Mm-hmm. There's all that jockeying happening between now and April. There's several months to go before this this goes down. But when you look at the Raiders, I heard Mike Mayock on NFL radio this afternoon from the Senior Bowl. They've met with 75 guys already. They were very successful last year at that. When you're the Raiders and you're looking at this and you're starting to stack, what your draft board is, do you see anything on the horizon that could change drastically the way the Raiders draft in that first round especially?
I really think that a lot of people are thinking they're going to do something with their third-round picks because they have 3 of them. I really think they could trade down from that 19th spot, especially if they get let's say they get a wide receiver there. I really think that unless they really like Kenneth Murray, the linebacker out of Oklahoma, which I think he's a second-round guy, I really think they probably will trade. I wouldn't say probably would, but they could potentially trade down out of the first round and recoup more picks. Maybe another one in the second round, maybe another one in the third round, and have 4 third-round picks to make people go crazy. But I think that's a move to watch out for if they're not in love with anyone at 19. Now, if they go somewhere else with number 12, then they're probably going to go wide receiver at 19, and you would look for a move in the third round.
Well, and I even think, Mo, that 12 could be in play depending on what happens before them, because you have 19. That gives you a little bit of a buffer there. You could trade your 12, move down into the second round to get some value there and still get what you need. Of course, if there's somebody like Simmons there or somebody like Lamb, you got to grab that player because I think they're that good. But to me, I think that's what fans, Raiders fans especially, they get so focused on, no, take the best player that's there, but you have to look at your needs, and if you can trade down a little bit and get get that second round pick and maybe even another third round or fourth round pick, because the Raiders have been so successful in the third and fourth round in recent years that to me that's also not a bad strategy.
Well, one thing I will say, and you mentioned the Bengals, one thing I will tell Raider fans out there not to expect: the Raiders are not going to trade up for Joe Burrow. Not going to happen.
Really? Well, no, because Tom Brady's coming. I forgot about that. Tom Brady's secret meeting with Mark Davis that wasn't so secret. Yeah. And of course, Tom Brady is coming to Vegas to save the Raiders and bring them back to promise. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Mo. Well, man, listen, as always, just amazing work. Again, follow Mo on Twitter if you already don't, at MoeMoton, Moe Moton. You can check out his latest piece, the mock draft, up on silverandblacktoday.com. Also, great work he does on fantasy football and the NFL in general, up on bleacherreport.com as well. Also on this show a lot, and he will be continuing to do so. So, Mo, man, have a great night, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Appreciate you guys. Really quick, maybe if we can get all of us on that boat, that shuttle to the stage at the draft, that would be great.
Wondering how many guys are going to show up in their captain's uniforms.
Yeah, we're going in Speedos, and we're riding jet skis instead, my man.
I got the memo, so I'll adhere to the rules there.
Good man. All right, Moe Moton, senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com and Bleacher Report. We appreciate him being with us. Woo! Yeah, there you go, your first mock draft. If you don't like it, I don't care. Mo's very good. He knows what he's talking about, and I thought it was a great first attempt.
Well, it's fun jockeying for position right now. You just start talking about the players. You start to see them. Obviously the free agency is going to dictate the draft, and then you got the combine, and so many things are going to change between now and then.
Chaz, speaking of a draft, we're going to take a break now and pay some bills, and our producer, engineer Mark's going to come in and whip us like he does between breaks because we're not doing what we're supposed to. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the huge news today in Las Vegas, I'm on a boat draft.
I'm on a boat.
Yes, I'm on a boat draft here. Big news, Las Vegas 2020 NFL Draft. You're listening to Silver and Black tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.